Introducing the honoree of the Literary Pioneer Award. Octavia Masipa is a managing director and founder of a multi-award-winning publishing company called Manare Publishers. She's a multi-award-winning author of 11 books. She's also an editor at Macmillan Learning and illustrator at Macmillan Education Publishers. She's a qualified publisher with honors in publishing studies from Wits University. Octavia is also a qualified and professional educator, specializing in senior phase and FET English and Sepedi at Chichila High School. She has also obtained her BA General Degree and PGCE from Wits University. Presenting to you, Octavia Masipa.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm back. Last week I was not around. Somebody took my place. But yeah, man, today we have the one and only superstar. Hey, people are doing things out here, man. People are big. People are doing well. We had the pleasure of seeing her doing this thing without interacting. But today we have the most greatest pleasure to sit down and have quite a convo. Yeah.
Welcome, welcome to Viral Chronicles. This is Caesar. Before he got to him not being here, maybe baby, you start with saying hello and who you are.
Okay, people.
For the new Viral Chronicle community members, thank you so much. Welcome to our channel. Please take your pen and paper, and the lazy ones like this girl, please take out your recording, because you know we're gonna make guys golden nuggets about black brilliance, about doing the things that need to be done when they need to be done. Guys, and to the oldies, you'll know you are the reason we do what we do.
Yes, fellow comrades.
The reason we bring greatness, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be bringing such excellence. You know what I mean? Like Dave has said, today we've got such an amazing person, guys. We cannot wait for you to just drink the knowledge that's
drink
coming.
It, finish it
with
if you have to.
Can you please just let the queen introduce herself? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you guys. I really appreciate being here on this platform, Chronicles. I'm honored to be part of you guys having a wonderful conversation. I am Masipa Octavia. I'm a publisher at Manare Publishers Pty Ltd, which was founded by myself on 2020. I'm also a qualified author, a qualified teacher at Chichila High School, and I'm specializing in FET and senior phase English and Sepedi. Yes. Also, I'm a poet and also illustrator at Macmillan Education Publishers. Then I do editing work at Macmillan Learning. Yes.
Girl, I feel like you're already sounding like you don't have the same 24 hours we do.
I don't know. I don't know which questions to ask now, because she sums up everything. The CV is too big. It's too heavy.
I want to break it down, because we have a girl that looks like Askoka, Sikoma Hayen, we can't leave the burbs too, you know. Yeah. Who's just wondering, how did this queen do it? So for me, because you also started with it, let's start with Manare Publishers, right? You, the managing director and the founder. What was your why? Why did you feel the need? Like, which gap did you see that you needed to fill? Give us a little bit of a summary of why you started the publishing company.
So I've realized a lot of people cannot read, like they cannot read and they don't find pleasure in reading. So for them, it's like when you are reading, they look at you somehow. So I grew up in the place where, you know, I was surrounded by people who loved books. So my family members loved books. But when I went to school, I figured that learners were not interested in reading, especially books for like reading for leisure. And then so when you are reading, they look at you like you are a nerd, or you pretend to be a genius. Yes. So I wanted to break that stereotype, you know, to allow people to be free to engage with books without feeling like people will judge them somehow, you know. So
I
I wanted to, bridge the gap of illiteracy in the rural areas, or townships, so people can know that reading is a mandate for everyone. Because
yeah.
when you don't know how to read, you can endanger your life. Like, you might drink something you're not supposed to drink because you cannot read the specifications on the container, or yes, what
I just
is
want to
inside
know.
that box.
I just want to know how is the response, because of
Mm,
I think your books are focused on students. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but how's the response
yes.
between the engagement between the adult and the book? Because of it's mostly focused on students. What about the layman who see, and she's bumping into
On
this
my
book,
high.
Ogomahaying, and she's like,
Mm.
how's that engagement? How is it looking like currently, Milan, from your experience?
So I'm focusing on different genres and also different storylines. So there are books that are specifically for learners that are actually recommended by Gauteng Department of Education and are used in school libraries. There are books that are meant for people at home, because I'm trying to reach a different, or a massive readership, so that it does not exclude those who are vulnerable. So some of people at home can be able to engage with my books. I also touch on the issue of fatherlessness, and also, when people are lacking faith, there are gospel based. Some of my books are gospel based. So people, when they are finding themselves in situations that are difficult, they are facing trials and tribulations, then they can engage with my books that are Christian based, and they can, know what to do, navigate, tools to use in, difficulties, and how to draw closer to God when things are going wrong, or when things are tough, when life is tough. So yeah.
Now, girl, tell us, multi-award winning author, 11 books. 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, like really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Take us through the first book. You were sitting there, I'm like, yeah, damn, I'm going to write a book. Because of many of us procrastinate. We want to write a book, but we're not sure. But you, 11, you started with 1. It's like going through the first book.
It reminds me of my small beginnings. So I
Yeah.
did not despise the little beginnings, the little the humbling, moments where it was from the scratch. Because, for that book, to me it was like a blessing, or somewhat a breakthrough, because my pastor just saw me performing a poem in front of the congregation, and he said, "Don't you want to be published?" And I said, "Of course I want to." And yeah, he offered me an opportunity to get published without paying anything. So yeah, that was whenever I read and engage with that book again and again, I feel like this is where God said yes to me, and it opened many other doors for me. Because after that book, I never stopped writing, because yeah, it takes just a simple yes from somebody, and everything else can unfold. Yeah, we just have to believe that God has a bigger plan with our lives, and we don't stop writing. We don't stop using our voice for those who can't voice out their opinions, to hear what we can say, so that they can also be empowered to say something, especially in terms of writing.
I mean, yeah, sorry, love. I think for now, engaging from your second and the previous question, previous answer, I'm getting this idea of excess, right? Do you sometimes feel, because I think for now that's where sometimes I also see that disparity. Do you sometimes feel that we illiterate, or we don't find interest in reading due to the lack of access, and I think enough or enough, having just listened to you, I think the fact that the books are also predominantly for people hiring, little questioning. What is your take on this idea of access? Do you think sometimes we do find a situation where the majority of our people are illiterate, or they don't find interest in reading, or it's frowned upon because they don't have access to it?
Yeah, I think accessibility to material is also one of the things that can lead to people being interested or not being interested. When you find yourself being surrounded by books, obviously you will want to read them and engage with them. So yeah, it's a matter of what's available and what are people exposed to. If you find kids being exposed to television at home, they will be glued to that television. But if the books are there on the shelves, then they can be glued to the books. So I think accessibility is one of the major problems in the rural areas, that people are not interested in reading because they don't have the material, they don't have books. And also, I feel like that's where we as authors and publishers need to step in, let it not be about money, let it be about giving back to the community, maybe donating books, allowing the households that can't afford to have something, at least a book per person. Then that's what it takes to, bridge the gap of illiteracy and allow people to be literate, and see if the interest would be developed if we do that.
Yeah. Two
Mm.
questions, right? You spoke about access, and it's quite an interesting word for someone
Mm.
who's traveled and for somebody who's sitting there who wants to bridge that gap. I just want to
Mm.
know, how do you then sit back and say "Ngwana ko kasi," or "Ngwana ko diplaseng," or somebody who's a fairly new student who wants to do this for their granny? How do you then come back and say this is where you start from your own experience? Because I'm definitely sure you've wined and dined with the prestige, with people who are inviting you to come and do these talks, right? But
Mm.
how do you then start from, I think you said it, and maybe if you can basically clarify for me, as Nagasatsubi, anything about publishing, and I want to get into
Mm.
this space. I'm listening to this Octavia who's saying access, who's saying read, but I don't know where, and the libraries are not even giving me that access. How do I go about
Mm. Yeah, that's a tricky one, but there's a solution to every problem we encounter. So if we feel like the libraries are limited and they don't allow people to walk out with the books, so I think we need to create a platform which can allow, access for people. Um, I think it will take even though it will be a lot of sacrifice, maybe asking other authors to donate, and then there's a book drive that's happening. Then that's how people can access the books. Yes.
And I think you've also like touched on it in earlier on when you spoke about, at the end of the day, the people that are already in the in the category, the writers, the publishers, we need to
Mm.
remember, it's the bottom line at some point should stop being about the money. You need to understand
Yes.
that
Yes.
that book
Mm.
to that school, or if one person, imagine if like 20 authors donate 20 books to a
Mm.
school, that library at that school is 20 books richer. You know what I mean? And then enough for now,
Absolutely. Mm.
especially with this idea of representation, because perhaps we're going to go to that. For me, it also
Mm.
becomes so fundamental when I now read Bukaya aus Octavia as a young black girl while questioning, to be like,
Mm.
yo guys, this is me now just imagining little me, Kilabon, because when we were young, I also loved reading books, but the unfortunate part is, until such a late stage, I never read books about
Mm.
people that looked like me. And I think
Mm.
it's so beautiful that you bridging that gap for our children
Mm.
now. Now my younger sister, who's in grade 8, can already, from the point where she is, read books that have people that look like her. My son, who's in
Mm.
grade 2, he can read books about the boy who herds cows. You know what I mean? Even though Udulalu
Yes.
questioning, like that, traveling through your book to then read about that boy whose adventure is about being a herd boy. And I think that's the beautiful part.
Mm.
Hore. Authors and publishers should remember, hore, at the end of the day, the social responsibility should come back
lies
to
it there?
understanding,
Yeah.
hore, the bottom
Mm.
line is writing the book, but the bigger line is giving out, to our
Remembering.
people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Never now. This is like one of the many celebrations, girl. One of the many
Mm.
celebrations. I need to read this because it's a mouthful. I don't want to make a problem. Founder of
Mm.
the Year Awards under Edupreneur representing South Africa out of 6 countries.
Hey.
My love.
Hey.
So this is you when you heard your name, right? Being called
You must have manifested it, maybe. I feel what I've got.
How do you feel, girl? And I know a lot of people have asked this question, but for now, it's not even from a personal perspective. But what first of all, did you feel when you won the award? But secondly, how did that award make you feel it would mean not only to you but to also to your community
and to your family,
exactly, but your inner circle, but also your student and and the people that you work with in your publishing company and your community.
And you sitting there with your little one, you're like, yeah, look, mommy is
she's a hey, better.
Well, I was not expecting to win, but then I believe God has bigger plans, and I was humbled, I was excited, and privileged as well, because I was among so many people competing for one thing, and I ended up being the one to get it. So I felt favored, and it just showed that whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve it, and nothing is impossible. So don't be stoppable. Don't be stoppable. So it just represented my family. I was there as a representative of where I come from, and everyone was proud of me, and they are still proud of me. So it's allowing me the courage, to carry on and not to back down or don't give it my all. So in everything that I do, I look back and reflect, and I say, so I won this award, and so I should not be stopped from, even if I encounter obstacles, I should not be stopped, because I'm here building something that can benefit a lot of people in the community, South Africa as a whole, So it's just a reminder that award is a reminder always that keep your head up and continue soldiering on. Yes.
Aluta. What this question that I'm about to ask, right? How do you? And I want you to feel free, man, and just tap into that mind. How do you come back? How do you reflect as Octavia from all these other awards, from the writing, from being a teacher, from being a leader, maybe
award-winning author, award-winning mother. Stay so humble.
Yes, and stay so humble. On the second, what does the future, from your own perspective, from sitting and engaging with, what does the future have for young writers
in store for us?
The future is bright. The future is bright. Despite how people try to paint it, saying AI will disrupt everything, there's no future for print books, there's no future for, mainstream traditional publishing companies. No, there's still a future for all of us, as much as we can be able to be flexible and adapt to change and not be rigid and say, we don't do anything else, we do this. So if we are flexible and allow change to happen as we transition as well, then we can be able to see that the future is not going to kick us out. We are within.
And the reflection part. I know the reflection.
How do you reflect?
How do you call it? Octavia Maserole with her angels, with God on her side. How do you call it back?
At such awe of your humbleness, in all honesty.
I think it's all about looking back always and knowing that you come from a poor background, so there's no need to be above the world, because you're not above the world. So be humble so you can be able to associate with people. So it's all about leaning back and saying, I am for the people, and I will work with people, and I'm not going to be arrogant despite what comes my way. Even if it's gold, even if it's millions, I will still be able to be down to earth. Yes.
Yo, thank you. Yo, it's very powerful. Ne?
Yeah.
The other thing that before this question, I know we've got a script going and time is not on our side because of now Octavia is, but I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, right, all these questions are coming up, but the question that I want to ask is, you are sitting there, we are speaking this English, and you are right. You when you think and you sit and when you write in that language that you write, how important is it as a Black child to really remember your mother tongue?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. How important is it as a Black child to always remember your tongue? Because if we get lost in this, like you said, you transition from this to this. And then sometimes other people, they transition and they get stuck in their transition because it's a process. It's a never-ending process. But how do you then come up and say, you know what, my mother tongue is really important? As Black as you are or as white as you are. Or other color or whatever skin. How important is it?
Yeah, that's deep. Because if we can't preserve our own languages, then who will, on our behalf, who will preserve it? So I think it's important for authors to be able to, what can I say, to do it both. You can write in English to accommodate diverse readership, but at the same time be able to write in your mother tongue and let that be the dominant language that you use, so that it is not lost. Our culture, our tradition, our beliefs, our roots should always be there. Yeah, we should not forget where we come from. Yeah.
Where I'm being taken, because I mean this is an educational platform in all angles. When I'm listening to you speak, I'm going back to this idea of intentionality, right? So you teach English and Sepedi, and you teach senior phase at FET, and I mean me and you. So my sis, not the one thing I love about this conversation, right? When I'm listening you to talk, I'm hearing a lot of intentionality, Queen. I'm hearing so much intentionality. Let's look at this idea of you. So you do your BA general, and then you do your honors in publishing, and then you sit and you decide, wait again, Miguel has just started. Now I want to go Queen in the schools, What made you decide to do your PGC, and why did you specifically choose senior phase and FET, and why English and Sepedi? Because now we would, especially after say you perform and we know you're a beautiful drawer as well. I saw you teaching, visual arts. I saw you teaching that subject. So take us through you choosing to teach the subject you teach, and you choosing the specific ages that you teach.
So I wanted everything that I do to be interconnected. So when I went back, when I go back to the little children there, so it's like, okay, now I can find what interests them, so I can be able to write about it. If I can find a talent there, I will be able to publish this person. And I'm taking it from this young generation and going up, so that.
Like this idea for the future is within our children, but why decide high school? Why not primary or early childhood development? Early years development.
I felt I could relate more with high school learners more than I could with young children, because there I would need a foundation, maybe starting there with the sounds, the phonics, so I didn't want to drag it. I wanted a place where it's already developed.
Touching me so much. I'm a girl. You must stick to that. I always knew that. And then I decided, no, let me test all with my
you
let me teach kindergarten. I can go wish, guys. Go wish.
How is it for you though?
Oh my gosh. At the moment, if you ask me, fellas are like, how patient are you? My patient level is at 100. And I think, like, you know, we always speak as people that believe Medieval places you in a place where you need to be at a particular time. You know? I think with the journey that we particularly in as a couple, as a family with our kids and stuff, I think me being here needed me to gain this patience. You know, I know I've always been patient, but I think being here and teaching kids has taught me a greater level of empathy that being a high school teacher didn't, right? And now when I go back to my high school teaching and when I go back to teaching my specialization, because I'm teaching English now, I'm gonna go back with the tools, you know, embedded in me of because I think having moved from corporate to then move to teach high school, I was still a bit cold, because I'm just like, yay, life doesn't wait for you know. And now with kids, bang man, bang more, and God through them has reminded me, oh, you can be, you know, life cannot, but there's certain instances where you need to be more patient, you know, with differentiation, and we look at that kid that needs 10 minutes to understand something more than the kid that 2 minutes, you know. And while you busy with the 10 minutes, have the patience to give the kids who needed 2 minutes something else to do and be able to manage that. I think that's the one thing about being here, that this patience God has lived in me through these kids has helped me appreciate. Why teach back home? I mean, it is obvious to us. It's really obvious to me. But I think for Bade or Shebeleting, and they're like, girl, you studied at Verts, you lived at Verts. Why didn't you go to St. Paul's or St. Stephen's and all these schools? Because they would grab you. You know, they would definitely. What made you decide I'm going to teach Go High?
So I struggled a lot with finding employment after I graduated. So I sent out so many CVs and nothing happened. So just as you said, I felt like moving from Joburg and then coming back home. It's one of the purposes. It was part of the paper, the bigger purpose or the ultimate purpose. So yeah. So after being depressed and saying, why am I not employed? After so many,
qualifications.
Yes, and sleepless nights, it's devastating. It's devastating.
All the trauma
I pray.
And all the traumas that you meet up with in camp.
Exactly.
Like,
the vet of it.
Hey, that's
So it's like after conquering the veg edge for so many years, God. So it's like, let me try elsewhere because this time this site is not working for me. So let me allow God to take me where He wants me to be, and not to just be boxed within my own sphere and say I want to be here, and then things don't happen and I'm stuck. So I had to leave and try something else, try maybe newer, greener pastures. Maybe something could happen. And God answered my prayer and I got employment this side, and that's how it went. Sometimes you'll try elsewhere but it won't work for you. Maybe
you know better than that. More than
The other thing is, guys, how God is always a winner, right? God is a winner always, now and forevermore. Now, I want to tell us as other publishers, you winning this prestigious Mbombela Business Award by Hollywood Foundation, because God is a winner. How do you feel now?
I feel proud that He carried me through he carried me through. I was at my lowest, but when God shows up, then everything changes. Like I was never at my lowest. So, yeah, Bambelela Business Hours just paved a way for me, to be recognized by other business people, So, yeah, it's a humbling experience.
Also Bambelele.
Bambelela.
And I think your journey, when it's really showing me, and I hope our viewers and like
beyond.
and beyond, and everybody to even you say it's so beautiful, guys. It's not all roses and sunshines, like you were stage where we went through the depressing stage where you want to be, where you want to be employed, you like consistently being rejected. I mean, it's employment season now, and I can imagine Wano Ole, who just like you finished their third or fourth degree, and they're sitting there and they're like, wait again, why am I not getting employed? And I think on the one end, you need to think about creating employment for you, either for yourself in your country, or like us move, or on the other end, move from the space you're in. And not we, especially this generation, how about and you wanted to be you wanted to be so I want to work in I want to work at the best school, and God, when now you make that happen, and sometimes God will be like, let me look at this person play a fool, until you realize God's rejection, never rejection, it's always redirection, and I think this conversation, out of all these beautiful things we're talking about, people should understand that we don't move from Joburg to Limpopo because we want to. We move because that's God's purpose, and as people that decided to be God's servants, we say, take me wherever you want me to serve at my capability, and I'll serve. And the biggest thing is, once you from there, really serve, and give it your all. And you giving it your all in that element perhaps is what opened up the Bombela Award. It's what opened the Bombela Award. Sorry.
Girl.
It's not the way I don't like that. I don't like the but I mean, that's so nice. But let's look at this. You now at your 11th book, right? And you now a mummy to a very beautiful boy.
Thank you.
Motherhood has influenced your writing. How has that part of your life influenced the person that you are now? How has it like, do you think the process of you writing now is the same as the process of having written your first book, as that beautiful young brilliant girl to this matured black brilliant Proverb31 woman now?
And can I just say something? With that being said, right, I think Palisa is, I'm going to say this speaking out of context. She's not saying people out there or the youth out there should go out and go make babies in order for them to be great writers like you. But when as behavior in that process, what was going on? And as you stated, was the process going to be the same before the first book and now that you are a mother?
I think the process is now different, before I was free, I had enough time on my plate to reach 60,000 words or even more. So now I have to ensure that everything is in the schedule, I have to plan, the timetable need to be stick to. It's not always the fact then he'll be crying and saying, "Mommy," then I have to give him my attention, So the pressure of motherhood, even though it comes with, its beautitudes and you being able to learn, to grow, and to explore many things, and using that as a tool to be able to write something along those lines, and so I feel like it's just a lot, but at the same time, it's a beautiful experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have much time like I used to, but it allows me to be able to manage my time, so I can do other things as well.
Now, girl,
Yes.
what's happening? Which one are you? Which God are you serving? Tell us about your books being recommended, girl, by the Department of Education, girl. Hey, manja, your books are there now. Angie was like, Mom Angie was like, yeah, now I need this girl's books to be there out there. Tell us, what's up with that?
So, uh, there's this program that comes out annually from Department of Education. So they ask young writers to apply for the award. So it's called Young Writers Program Award. Then they select the books. Then they go through evaluation, and then they will choose which one they will recommend to be used as school libraries. So I entered quite a lot of those, and yeah, God favored me for most of my books are, are included there, and I'm always grateful because it's like when you start something and then modima nore karabo ke eng, always when you do it karabo ke eng, always. So yeah, it's like it's just the door of favor.
Yes, but I also think you again being so modest and so humble. I think God, badula babuwa, babuhlala gore God uthusa ba ithusang. I think one of the things about you, even from having spoken to this conversation, but just knowing you, gore, you are such a hard worker. Like you always put yourself out there. You always put yourself out there, and I think that's the spirit that your kids always see, perhaps it exuding in you. And I think we're so blessed to have that in our classrooms, But I also think that's something people from this conversation need to take out, guys. Like you not, you need to put yourself out there. Mom Angie didn't just wake up and say Octavia, you needed to put yourself out there and put your books out there and say, God, nah, to do the work, and then I'm gonna let you do the rest. But there needs to be a point where you give God something to work with.
Speaking of that, when I first got a hold of you, and I'm like, yo, baby, guess what? Octavia said yes. And she didn't just say yes, she was like, thank you. And I'm like, yeah, not a lot of people who are making it or who have made it would be so like humble as you.
Yeah.
And I think Palisa is saying it beautifully by saying, oh, you didn't just what's and be like, I'm gonna. How does that look like, and what advice would you give? You cannot speak for the entire being, but what would you say to someone who wants to be there, but they're like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna be going to interviews. I just need money. What advice would you give?
I think if you allow yourself to be a servant from the onset without seeing the reward, then the reward will come at a perfect season, because you cannot expect to reap while you did not plant anything. So putting yourself out there without getting anything in return, it's you planting. And then the rewards will come, and they will come in many shapes, many sizes, many different colors, So we don't have to close ourselves in a closet and think we can't do this because they are not going to pay us. We can't do this for exposure. It is by time that creative people need to know that exposure is actually what you need. The money will come. It will not come at this point, but it will definitely come to you. You don't chase after it, you attract it, and you will only attract it if you allow yourself to be a servant. Serve the people. If you are called, go there. Even if they're not going to give you anything, you are giving yourself something by doing that, because you are investing in your craft, you are investing in what you believe in.
That is so beautiful. Before
I'm not closing it. Itaba, there's a couple of ones that I just need. Like we only have a few
Yeah, I
minutes.
know, but this one,
Yeah.
two from me. Well, three.
Shoot.
And love your book about the flip side of fatherlessness.
Hey.
That book is wonderful. What?
Yay!
Like that book. What was the most beautiful thing for you about writing that book? That book is so it's so powerful. It also like layer. It's very, very layered, and obviously people please just go out there and get it.
Get the
you know,
books.
get
the books.
Yes.
We've got up for you, Jay. You know, but aside for now, it's such a relevant book, and how you female perspective, but tackling this idea of you know fatherlessness, and I think more often than not, you would find like when I'm shiman this is what having a dad has done to me, and people necessarily getting that and understanding it, but coming from you, what was that one beautiful thing that came out of writing that book over and above what made you write it? You know, I mean, I think you can answer both, but I want the beautiful side of the book is very powerful.
I think it's all about one thing: acceptance. Accept the situation as it is. Not that we condone
Yeah.
the behavior of men who leave their families, but the child needs to accept the situation as it is, and not to do a blame game always. Be stuck somewhere and say it's because of my father that I'm not doing well, it's because of my father that things are not working out for me. No, do something for yourself so that you can also be able to build your own family, build your own legacy, so that you move on. There's progression in your life, not that you are held back because of somebody's choices and mistakes and flaws. No, it's pointing out the fact that we don't have to blame anyone. We don't have to blame situations. We don't have to blame maybe generational curses or something. We don't need to do that. We have given a life that is full of grace, a life that is fulfilling. So in order for us to embrace that life, we have to check, are we living it fully, or are we there halfway and we want somebody to complete us? We feel this void because somebody's not there. So we have to live it fully because it's given to us in all fullness. Because if at a certain point you feel like things are not working out because my dad left me, or things are not working out for me because he rejected me, he abandoned me, then you will be in a negative state of mind all of your you'll be in a negative state of mind, and there's nothing that comes out of negativity. So how would you grow? How would you build something new? How would you embrace the beauty in life? You'll always be negative. You'll always find flaws in everything. You'll always see problems and never bringing any solution, you see. So we have to move away from the idea or the mindset that people owe us something. Our parents don't owe us anything. They're only meeting the needs because that's the purpose that God had for them, and they're doing it for us. But they don't necessarily owe us anything. No one owe us anything. So we should not be having this poverty mindset that somebody owes me something and they have to fulfill me. We are already fulfilled. We are already content. We are already enough. So people has to embrace what God gave them so that they can work with you. I'm not saying this from a point of privilege, but I know when you work for yourself, when you do things for yourself, you won't feel like you won't be blaming anyone. Yeah, you won't be blaming anyone. And you'll also not be putting high expectations and, allowing people to do what God can do for you. They won't, they can't. So it's not in their nature to do it for you. Yes.
And often at times we tend to become our own oppressors to our own mindsets.
Exactly.
Now here's a scene, right? It's a library. It's a big library, Books
mm,
are stacks. There's your book, one from book 1 to 11, right? And I need you to
mm,
be honest with me. And I'm not saying people shouldn't go and pick that one book. You are getting into this,
mm,
like, the book, the library is called Octavia Masipa Library, right?
mm, mm,
Book 1 to 11, you only have one
mm.
choice to pick one book.
That's so hard.
Which book would you pick? Why?
Okay, so I don't have it on my lap, but it's the harvest worker. So this one is about, doing the work even when you feel tired, even when you feel weary, but don't be dismayed, but just do the work. So it's about people using their hands, using their mind, using whatever it takes, to do the work that they are purposed to do here on earth, and not to be lazy or to fold their hands and waiting for the Messiah to come and rescue them, because we are already rescued. So people need to get busy and do what it takes to ensure that they are building, their career, they are building something for themselves, so that they will have something to fall back to, because we cannot always be waiting. We are in the waiting period, but we do nothing even
Yeah.
in that waiting season. So when you are a harvest worker, it means you are preparing for the harvest to come. You understand? You are not waiting to just reap without doing anything, but you are busy preparing yourself so that you can be one of the reapers. So the Bible says, the harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few. So we don't have to be excluded from the laborers. Let the laborers be more, let us be part of the laborers. So we are working, we are people who are doing something. Even when the government is not helping, we as youth, we should start somewhere, see something and see an opportunity and work with that. Don't always see problems and blaming other people, and you're saying your life is not fruitful. It's because of President Ramaphosa. No. What are you doing with the time given to you? What are you doing with resources, even if they may be limited? What are you doing with them?
Yeah.
What are you starting? Be innovative, be creative. What are you starting with things that are a simple thing, but at the end of the day, they can bring income to you. You understand? So we have so many people blaming others, complaining about situations, but they don't want to change. Exactly. They don't want to change the narrative. They don't want to change the situation. But each and every single day, they'll see something to complain about. So it's by time that we become the harvest workers, so we can work and do things for ourselves instead
And if,
of lamenting. Mm,
yeah, and if I understand you
mm,
correctly, it's not only about resources, as you said. Change your mindset in
mm,
order for you to progress.
mm,
Okay, now you're getting out of that library. You have this book, The
mm,
Harvest. On your left,
Worker.
mm,
the Harvest Worker. On your left is that small
mm,
Octavia, that little Octavia, right?
mm,
On your left, what would you tell that Octavia? And in the middle is the Octavia now. Now you
mm,
look on your right is the future Octavia. You need to move.
mm,
Now this is you need to move, right? But what would you tell
mm.
that Octavia on your left first? And approaching that Octavia, you are looking and you're talking to the Octavia. What would you say to that Octavia?
Don't waste time. Don't waste time on things that cannot benefit you in the future. So if you have something that you can work on today, focus on it and work on it today. And don't be anxious of what tomorrow may bring. As long as you are working for today, you are doing something for today, then tomorrow will be secured. Your future will be secured, because you, little Octavia, you are anxious about what your future would look like.